I've basically been binge watching it. I was like, oh, because it just was so just hard for me to see. It will help desensitize you. So it is a gorgeous night outside and I have not been spending enough time outside. So I'm gonna make this video outside as long as I don't sneeze because it's allergy season. Anyways, I'm going to talk to you about 3 reasons that you should watch Chicago Med if you are a nursing student. I discovered this show thanks to YouTube, continually suggesting clips of it, and then I found out it was on Netflix, and I've basically been binge watching it for my break between terms. First reason is if you're like me and seeing some of the blood and bodily fluid stuff kind of makes you squeamish, it will help desensitize you. When I saw a really nasty open wound during clinicals, I wasn't sure how I would respond. And my response was, that looks just like the picture. And I think looking at so many pictures of open wounds that were very similar to that one helped me when I saw that one be like, it looks just like the picture, and kind of detach myself from it a little bit. The first few times I saw those wounds on the computer monitor, when I was reading the lessons, I was like, oh, and I would cover them up. I would glance and then be done with it because it just was so just hard for me to see, just squeamish. I've always been watching movies. I never want to see violent stuff or fighting. I've never liked blood or gore. So the first thing is desensitization. I haven't seen any big wounds in Chicago Med. Well, I saw a burn victim that's skin looked really slothed off and kind of gross, and I've seen them place a lot of chest tubes. I think they place a chest tube every single episode. Seen open heart surgery, they show a lot of blood in bloody procedures. If they're gonna do a chest tube, they show them cutting it open and putting the tube in, and it's helping with desensitization. I'm able to watch it more and not be so squeamish. So hopefully, if when I see the stuff in real life in clinicals, I can be like, that looks just like on Chicago Med. So that's my first reason. My second reason is it is, I think, educational. So I watched a few doctors review Chicago Med YouTube videos, and most of the doctors thought that none of them had watched lots of episodes, I don't think. They were just reviewing, this particular episode or that particular episode. But the doctors who reviewed Chicago Med, Dr. Mike is one I can think of off the top of my head that reviewed it, were pretty accurate looking. Medically wise, it was pretty accurate. Before nursing school, I didn't know what a chest tube was. I'd never even heard of a chest tube. Now, we learned about chest tubes in sim when we went up to Elmhurst in our simulation lab. We did learn briefly about chest tubes, but that was literally my first time ever hearing about them. And like I said, I think almost every episode of Chicago Med, they're putting in a chest tube for a pneumothorax, hemothorax. I'm still learning about these things. Today, I was watching an episode. Just because you hear something once doesn't mean you remember it. But I had read about tetrarchy of fallout last term. I kept reading about tetrarchy of fallout for one of my modules I was in. Well, in the Chicago Med episode I was watching today, I realized, oh, you're pronouncing that wrong. I think it was tetrarchy of fallow. Ballet. All I can remember is, hey, I don't know the correct pronunciation. But that's a start. That's better than not realizing I was saying it wrong. So I am learning stuff. Or I'm learning, oh, you weren't saying that right. So that's learning something. Just knowing what you're doing wrong. If I watch some episodes again with that, maybe it'll stick in my head. But another thing, laws. They'll have to come up with these weird ethical situations. The surrogate is pregnant and unconscious, and the people whose baby it is inside her want to keep the baby, or DCFS stuff, all kinds of ethical issues all the time. And it goes over, well, legally, this is what we have to do because of this law. And especially since it's Chicago Med, sometimes they even talk about in Illinois the law is, or if we were in Arizona, it would be different, but in Illinois the law is, and I live in Illinois, so it's even going over laws for my state, which is interesting. I would say educational. I would say I'm learning stuff. I'm learning precise pronunciation of things, or at least when I'm saying things wrong, I'm noticing a lot of different things. A lot of different things I'm learning. So one of our commenters pointed out, I said crazy about someone who was in the ER, and one of our commenters pointed out, oh, that's not a word we should use. Like, it's not politically correct. Chicago Med had a couple episodes that talked about that. Like, talked about that's not a term we use for mentally ill people because it's offensive to them. So I would say it's educational. Third reason is it's entertaining, which if you're enjoying learning, I think you learn better. The name of my ESL company that I run is called Play Talk Grow, because I think little kids learn English best through playing. And I try to make class really fun, and it's a lot of playing stories, and I do like, special effects like with SnapCam. So I think when you're having fun, it's easier to remember stuff. And also when you can tie something you've learned to an actual person, and I know they're actors, but you can tie it to a face of someone, it helps you remember too. Oh, that's what Dr. Manning was talking about in such and such episode. Or, oh, that was that one patient. They had an episode about that with that one patient. The edutainment is good, I think, for learning. So anyways, if you haven't checked out Chicago Med, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it if you go watch an episode. I think I told you Dr. Mike, I watched him review an episode. I also watched a video of his on his opinion of all the medical dramas and which ones were the most accurate and which ones were best. And his favorite was ER, which I never have watched any episodes of ER. To be honest, the only medical show I've ever got into before nursing school would have been House. And I loved House. It was more for his personality and the random weird, obscure medical issues. But House didn't show very much blood and stuff like that. House was more drama and more like solve the mystery instead of trauma surgery. I think the reason why I hadn't watched medical dramas like ER is because I don't like seeing that stuff. But now it's a little more interesting to me. And like I said, I need to get desensitized to blood. So, yeah. But ER, that's on my bucket list now, to watch some episodes of ER and see if I think it's as good as Chicago Med. But I am on season 2 of Chicago Med, and yeah, I find it really interesting. And let me know what you think if you've watched it.